You've been through a hell of a time, though, of course, in recent days. Tell us what it's been like for you and your family there in Jerusalem.
It's been 4 relatively sleep-deprived days and mostly nights, although occasionally we've had missile attacks. You know, it's a very surrealistic scenario here. We get a warning now, 15 minutes, that the Iranians have launched missiles. Usually they come in batches of 50, sometimes 100. And then we're told to get near shelters. There are public shelters all over the city of Jerusalem, all over Israel. There are also some people in the more newer buildings have shelters in their own apartments or in downstairs. And so you meet your neighbors, you sit there, you listen to the booms of the interceptions. Unfortunately, sometimes some of the missiles hit, and you wonder if everybody's okay afterwards. It's a very stressful time. I think the children are having the roughest time of it because you have to explain to them why these people who are thousands of miles away from us in Iran hate us so much, they want to kill everybody. Why do they say death to Israel and fire missiles? So it's a very complicated time, but Israelis are very confident. They're very, I think, resilient. It's a continuation of what happened on October 7th, almost 19 months ago with the Hamas attacks.
Tell us about the strategic situation here, because I've been talking to experts and foreign policy practitioners about this issue now for decades, and increasingly so in the past couple of years, and that is the relentless pursuit of nuclear weapons by Iran, the failure of diplomatic measures and deal-making to stymie those efforts, and the resort then in the end of Israel was always going to be the case. We've always known this. Israel was not going to let it happen, could not afford to let it happen. Why did Israel have to act now and without at least overt support from the United States?
Chris, you get it. I listen to a lot of Australian politicians in the government and members of parliament and others, and they don't get it. Not just Australians, of course. Europeans, I think in many ways, Australia, Canada are following Europeans. That all they have is slogans. So yes, we've all known, if anybody has eyes that are open, you see that for the last 20 years, this Islamic regime, the Iranian Islamic Republic in Tehran, has been arming itself to the teeth with missiles. We've got now over 300 missiles attacking us, and there are probably hundreds more, and the Israeli military has destroyed hundreds of them. So they've got this huge arsenal. Their population is not starving, but they're certainly very limited in their economic status. And they put all the money into these weapons, and then they've been building up nuclear weapons. So the red line of where Israel had to act so that this regime of fanatics, of religious fanatics, that claims that its major motto, its entire policy, foreign policy objective is death to Israel, and then death to the United States, of course, and the West. So they've reached the status where they can almost create a half a dozen nuclear bombs. And you can imagine how terrible it would be if those missiles that you're showing now on your screen had nuclear weapons in them. So Israel had to act. And Mr. Netanyahu, the prime minister, knew that. And the country is very much with him. You see a lot of stories over the last couple of years about opposition to Netanyahu. Netanyahu must go. But he's clearly the leader of the country right now. And there's tremendous respect for him, planning and leading along with the military leadership and executing this extremely complicated and so far very successful military operation. It had to be now, because if we would have waited another month or 2 or 6 months, Iran would have had nuclear weapons. You can imagine what that would have done, not just to the Middle East, but to the rest of the world.
There's no doubt that any rational observer of this understands that Israel is actually doing the world a favour here, aside from just defending itself. The big question, a side question, if you like, but another big question is whether or not Israel has actually done a favour for the Iranian people, whether there could be regime change that could liberate them. Listen to the exiled crown prince of Iran.
It is Ali Khamenei's war, and he's solely and ultimately responsible for having brought this to this stage. What angers me further is that he's using my compatriots as a human shield while he's currently hiding in some underground tunnel like a rat. And we have had reports that senior members and officials have already had their families fleeing the country to foreign destinations.
Gerald, what do we know about what could happen in terms of the Iranian population, and how devastating could that be for them if there's a crackdown by Iran against its own people?
There's clearly a lot of upset and unrest in Iran at the government now for leading the people to this stage where Israel's not just bombing all the military sites they can find and killing off the nuclear scientists and the top generals. But they're also, the Israeli military, the Air Force, has established complete superiority. So all the money that Iran invested in air defense and other things is completely absent. Most of the people in Iran now realize that they're completely vulnerable, that their government cannot protect them. It's a corrupt government. It's a fanatic government. Now, it's very hard to predict when regime change takes place. We saw what happened in Syria a few months ago, where all of a sudden, almost overnight, the Assad regime was chased out. He had to get on a plane and hurry off to Moscow in order to save his life and take all his gold with him. Now, that may be the case also with the Ayatollah Khamenei. I'm not overly optimistic about this because they're very well entrenched. They're more entrenched than the Assad regime was back in Syria. But in 1979, there was a mass popular movement that replaced the Shah of Iran. They did not want to continue. And then this Islamic fanatic group took over. They've been opposed for a long time. The regime has put down this opposition. They treat women really like they're slaves, cover them up from head to toe, very much resented by a large part of the Iranian population. So we may see an uprising if they see an opportunity, just like when Israel destroyed the protectors of the Assad regime, Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy based in Lebanon, a few months ago.
Yep.
And the people there rose up against the regime. That may also happen if they see an opportunity in Iran. If we want to end all of the military tension, all of the wars, all of the terrorism from Lebanon, from Syria, from Gaza and other places, from Yemen, then removing the regime is very important. But that's something that the Iranian people have to do. I would say that's not an articulated goal, but it is certainly a hope and a possibility that as Israel pursues its attempt to disarm the fanatics in Iran.
Thanks so much for that analysis, Gerald. I appreciate it. Stay safe. We'll keep in touch.